Is there a true form of a demon? What lurks in the Italian countryside? Does an evil spirit haunt a farm in southern Ohio? Today we test the believability of Listener Collection Volume 8.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
What a collection we've got today. Stories abound. We've got 5.
I don't know them, so I can't speak to them, but I trust our listeners. You picked them, so I'm
did.
very excited to hear about them.
Yeah, I was going to say they're all unique, but they are in different, but almost kind of similar ways. There's a couple that are pretty similar. But the one, I'll tell you what, the one really freaks me the fuck out. We'll get
You're trying to tease?
a little bit, I guess.
Because you're prefacing a little, and I preface, but you're also, it's a tease, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's like, wait around the next commercial break.
So before we get started, actually, we should thank our patrons. Our newest patrons are Cheyenne, Sadie, and Cynthia. Thank you for joining. I know you got a lot going on in the Patreon now that you can fill your time listening to walking your dog or cooking or whatever you do listening to podcasts. I like to cook personally. What do you do when you listen?
I walk a lot. I do a lot of walking and hiking while listening. I do like cooking as well. I like cooking while I have the podcast on.
Yeah, that's it's almost like you're talking to someone, but you don't have to say anything.
Yeah, I like to listen to podcasts while I work, unless I'm writing, because then it just competes with when I'm, I read it back and I'm like, oh, that's not right.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So what's coming up this week?
So this week on Patreon, we've got 2 drops. We've got our
Wednesday, Friday drops.
Yeah, Wednesday.
As always, that's our new schedule. So you can expect things now.
What is Wednesday?
Wednesday is going to be horror movie review. Ben and I, and potentially Charlie, depending on the time frame tonight. Oh, the guy without kids has to get home early. Oh, to watch Terrifier. And then Friday is a mini encounter episode. It's all about encounters.
Yeah, so if you like the encounters, this is for you.
Yeah, that comes out on Friday of this week. And don't forget, this Saturday is live Halloween special. I'm so excited. It's going to be as on-site as we're allowed to be, within reason. I'm super excited. This is 5 years in a row that we've done it.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
going to be great.
So it's a good tradition we've kept.
Live on Twitch, completely free. You just got to have a Twitch account.
Yep.
Live on Twitch, streaming at 9 p.m. Eastern time, on-site. It's going to be so much fun. We're leaving state. We'll put it that way. We will not be in Ohio any longer.
We left last year, so this is now become a interstatal.
Well, if it's like 5 years in a row and we're like, we went 30 minutes down the road and
there is a lot of haunted stuff in Ohio, but
yeah,
let's explore. Our first tale in this listener encounter comes from Hope and takes place in Michigan at a camping site. And she said it's near the thumb. I don't know what that means.
Well, Michigan kind of has that
little
thing.
She was referring to the thumb in the States.
I think calling it a thumb is good.
I think so too. I get it. Thumbs up or thumb to the side. Thumbs down.
I'm not a geography guy, so I can't
even
speak to this.
see it in my head. Is that where, like the offshoot?
Well, there's like the water.
That's like connected to the other state. Is that Wisconsin? The hell's next to Michigan?
Yeah, it's Wisconsin. Well, yeah. Okay, so yeah, it is like a thumb up. It's like this.
Okay, I see that. Okay, so in the wilderness. So let's say it's. I'll just let the story speak for itself.
I naturally lean towards stories that take place in woods and camping and hiking. So I'm all ears. Like, I'm actually gonna, pay attention to this one.
All right. So
I'm just kidding. I pay attention to all of them, obviously. Obviously. What else? There's nothing else to distract me in this room.
Except sports betting.
Not in this room right now. Well, actually, my phone is in front of me.
That's right. I see it.
It's a bad game tonight, so I'm not worried.
No, of course. We both pay attention all the time. So this takes place when they're young. When the 2 girls in the story are preteens, and the guy is... Actually, I assume it's a guy. Yeah, no, it's a guy. He's 17.
Is this a family or are these friends?
They're family.
Okay.
They are family.
So I guess 2 girls and the guy.
I'll get into it. So Hope at the time was 12, and her stepbrother, Aaron, was 17, along with their 11-year-old cousin, Kat. And they went on a family trip in Michigan, and that's where they had this experience in the woods. It was a short trip. It was only 3 days. But when they pulled up, the adults started working on the campsite, and that's when the children went off to explore the nearby woods. I feel weird calling a 17-year-old a child, but in this context, he is. Now, the woods actually had a gate surrounding them, which I find very interesting. They're open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, the gate was supposed to lock to enforce those hours, but Hope, Aaron, and Kat arrived at 6 p.m. So they set off to explore this large area in a short amount of time. Now, only a half a mile into the woods, they stumbled across a hiking stick in the middle of the trail. Now, Hope picked it up, and she saw that it had a large feather on top. So they thought it was cool, so they kept it. And they were coming up with these crazy conspiracies about what the stick could have been, what it was representing, and they knew it was outlandish, but they're having fun. So 40 minutes into the walk, they decide to turn back. And they get back to the campsite around 8 p.m. So they have dinner. And after dinner, the three decide that they want to go back the next day. But they want to start out a lot later and go in after closing. Because they saw the fence did not close when they were leaving, so they thought they might as well. So they started out at 11 p.m. the next day, armed with flashlights. And they told the adults they'd be back in 2 hours. So 1 a.m., absolutely not. So I'm questioning that parenting, that decision.
1 a.m.?
Yeah.
And they're 17?
The oldest is 17.
Well, the youngest is
11.
Yeah, that's pretty late. 17, I have no problem with it, one.
Mm-hmm.
But 11 is, pretty late.
You're almost,
especially out. Like if you're up at
that's
at 1
fine, I
at
guess.
home, playing Crash Bandicoot. That's different than
not personal experience.
Yeah. It sounds like a zoo because when you were saying like it's fenced in wooded areas.
Oh, yeah.
It's like imagine these animals are like, that was fun. And they try to leave. They're like, hey, okay, can you open that gate? and they don't leave.
No, they don't leave. So they start off on the hiking trail, and there was nothing out of the ordinary. While the group felt light and happy as they were laughing and joking, they stumbled upon another walking stick with another feather on top. Hope again picked up that stick, and they wandered in the same direction that the stick had been pointing. Kat had tripped in the dark, woody area very suddenly, but no one was suspicious as it was a dark and wooded area. Shortly after this, they heard a hooting owl. Again, they chalked it up being a late-night wood activity. But that's when Hope saw something terrifying. She saw the silhouette of a man 30 feet away, sitting against a tree. They stood watching, and their hearts raced. Kat said the next day that, at the time, she heard the man speak. She said he sounded like a southern man with a smoker's husk. She said that he said, "They are here." Now, no one else had heard anything at the time. But, back to the story, Hope pointed and said, "Look under that tree." That's when Kat screamed, and the figure didn't even flinch at the high-pitched squeal. Kat started running, and the others followed her. Aaron tripped on the same spot the cat had tripped earlier, and they helped him up, and they ran for the gate. But the gate was shut and locked. So they all started climbing the 8-foot fence to escape, and Hope had to drop that walking stick, and she left it there. Now, they ran back to the campsite, and they never told their parents. They never told anybody else about what they saw in the woods.
They almost entered the zoo permanently.
So yeah, they see this figure in the woods. I don't know. It's a little spooky.
I think I would say for the average listener doing, like we were talking about, walking or cooking, maybe not super scary. I think it has to be you're in that situation. Like, put yourself back to being between the ages of 11 and 17.
Yeah.
Already knowing
you're not supposed to be there.
You're not supposed to be there. You're already on edge because you're doing something you're not supposed to. If an owl hooting freaks you out, you're like, obviously they're on edge.
Yeah.
And then you see a shadow and it's a man, and it's one person claims to hear something. In that state of mind, it is very scary.
Yes. Now, I mean, there's obviously logical answers to all this stuff. She tripped in the woods. An owl hooted. No one was there. I mean, it was a shadow, or maybe the guy was just camping.
I was waiting to see if there would be a twist on the tripping.
Yeah, it never really came back.
Normally, like, I mean, that could just be that's what happened. So she's including in the story. But I feel like if you acknowledge something twice, the third time it's like we went back and there was this, or they tripped over a new walking stick that wasn't there when they were walking originally.
Yeah,
but it also makes it feel like little imperfections like that make it feel even more like a valid.
I agree.
I'm not that I'm justifying whether or not it's a fake story.
No,
but it's just it's a moment.
Well, weird things stick out in your mind, you know.
Yeah,
but yeah, we can talk about more in the discussion. But that is Hope's story in Michigan.
Go Jared Goff.
Big fan, Jared Goff.
AKA Ryan Gosling. You can't fool us.
Never seen him in two places at the same time.
Same place, same time, right?
Yep. You never seen them in the same place at the same time. That's right. You might see them there. Well, you couldn't see them at two places at the same time either.
Unless you're watching a movie while you're watching the game.
That's not the same thing.
In the space-time continuum.
So this next story is from D.
D-E-E or the letter D?
D-E-E.
Okay.
And this is a quote from D because this is just, it's a lot. She said, quote, "Oh, this takes place in New Jersey in the year of 2022. I always find that so fascinating. I know I'd say it every time, but the listener...
New Jersey?
Well, no, not that. But the timestamp. But like, what were you doing in 2022? You remember?
This podcast.
Oh, I guess that's true.
I was sitting right here. No, I wasn't sitting here. We were sitting in my attic.
Yeah.
No, we were planning... It was the Kirtland melon heads.
Yeah.
So we were prepping that.
Now
I was about to be very pissed off about Wi-Fi and internet.
Now imagine, right? That same night we plan that whole event, we go home, we go to sleep. That's when this happened. I just put myself in that mindset. All right. So D said, quote, "I encountered a demon last night. She wasn't sitting beside me. She was poised in a sitting position on the other side of the bed. Her eyes were stark white and hungry, set in rings in deep black that sank into hundreds of wrinkles that spiderwebbed out of her eye sockets. Her hair was black and hung wetly around her old, withering visage. Her clothes were dark and difficult to make out, but also seemed dirty and deeply aged. She wore a displeased grimace, but otherwise did not speak, blink, or move. She simply watched me as I lay on my bed, gazing back at her in surprise. I closed my eyes, thinking she would disappear, but instead, she was suddenly closer. Opening my eyes again, I stared in disbelief. I gazed, horrified, into the darkness. Flashes of her came across my vision. I closed my eyes and called upon Kalima, a new goddess of destruction. The goddess, by saying her name 3 times, to protect me. And I suddenly found myself standing in the space surrounded by these brightly colored, billowing curtains. They were orange with decorative trim, and the space was bright and breezy. I felt safe. When I opened my eyes again, I knew she was gone. I could no longer sense her. And when I opened my eyes again, I knew she was gone. I know this was not sleep paralysis, because anytime an entity has attacked me, I am unfortunately aware. I started calling my mother's name when she first appeared because I was still heavy with sleep, but then I remembered that I lived in my own apartment, and I couldn't call upon her to help me anymore. After this encounter, I had normal dreams. I do not think the entity I encountered was the night hag. I've never encountered the night hag, but this entity felt extremely sinister. Her white, empty eyes and unchanging expression as she neared, and the way her position never seemed to change as she neared me, made me think that she wasn't there to kill me. I have this distinct sense she was more interested in what my soul had to offer. That was a level of darkness emanating from her. Also, I had a feeling I might encounter something if I had difficulty going to sleep, which for me is a telltale sign that something was about to go down. So let me tell you, she was definitely not what I was expecting. I've searched Google trying to find images of something similar to her. I couldn't find it. I don't think she is the night hag, but I did initially think that perhaps she was. Except she didn't try to strangle me. She wasn't sitting on top of me, and she got so close, only a few inches away from my face before I called upon Kalime. Whatever she was, night hag or not, I'm not sure that demon in particular will be lurking any longer after what I saw happen to her. End story.
Man.
It's intense, right?
Yeah, very intense.
Amazing language.
Definitely a writer.
Yeah.
Wow, I couldn't, how do you go to sleep the next day?
How do you go to sleep that same night? I guess you feel protected.
Yeah, that's true. There's a level of protection that I've never experienced as she felt there, but I still think that could be sleep paralysis because her explanation was that she was aware. But people with sleep paralysis are aware. Now, she might have had all the symptoms with like the
strangling
or the difficulty breathing. And I'm not saying it is sleep paralysis. I just don't think she's pretty confident that it's ruled out. And
it also seems like this has happened to her before.
Just not this entity.
Yeah.
So she could just be very sensitive and, her energy could have things drawn to her.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing, I mean, for her to come out and say like, she thought that it wanted her soul. There's a lot of intention in that.
Yes. It's scary.
The entity and her feeling it.
Yeah. It's just an intense story. So let's move on to our third story. So our third story from Lee is from northern Minnesota.
Very cool.
In the early 1900s. No.
Whoa.
1990.
Like how old is this?
1990s.
Lee, how old are you?
I've heard the youth say people like me were born in the late 1900s. Doesn't that suck?
Well,
they're not inaccurate, but it sucks.
20th century.
Yeah. She said that she's a big fan of the podcast.
Cool.
Which is very cool.
Appreciate that. I really do, actually.
And she said she was telling her friends about the podcast, and she actually told her son about the podcast. And he told her, he said, quote, "You should tell them about the Wumpf." So this is the story about the Wumpf. Lee said that she grew up in a small town in northern Minnesota. Her parents got divorced when she was young, and she had two sisters growing up, but they were kind of bounced around until they got their first house when they were 12. It was a cute 3-bedroom on a gravel road house, and there was an interesting history from the home. There may have been a suicide or even a homicide, depends on who you talk to. Now, Lee said that she remembered seeing 3 separate female ghosts here, but this is not the story's focus. This is about the Wumpf. So she said, quote, "My sister and her best friend were about 7 or 8 at the time, and they were playing in the backyard in the tree fort. Now, the fort was located on top of a small hill behind the house, and there was a small group of large pines and oak trees, which opened to a larger field. They played out there many times with no incidents, so when I heard them screaming, I knew I had to do something seriously wrong. I was in the kitchen making lunch for all of us when I first heard the scream hit my ears. It was a warm summer day, so all the windows and doors were open. And when I heard them screaming, I thought one of them had gotten hurt. And I ran for the kitchen door to see what the hell was going on. I saw the girls running their asses off down the hill toward the home, screaming bloody murder. They screamed, 'Help us!' I was about ready to tear them a new asshole for screaming like that until I saw what was chasing them. It was a black mass that looked about 2 feet in diameter. No human features or anything could be seen. So I said, 'What the hell is that?' And they screamed, 'Help us!' That's all they would say. So I threw the kitchen screen door open as I ran inside crying and screaming. We slammed the door shut as the mass hit the back steps. And as it hit the door, it made a large Wumpf sound. It hit the door so hard, it started to push the back door open. We pressed our bodies against the door to keep the thing out. And then every time it hit the door, it made the same sound. Wumpf, wumpf, wumpf. Every hit shook the door until we thought the door would break in half. And then, silence. Total silence. No birds, no noise at all. The whole thing seemed to last for hours, but in reality it was only minutes that had passed from the moment I heard the girls scream. What was that? Did you girls mess with anything up there? And they assured me they'd only been playing in their fort, and they hadn't done anything wrong. We opened the kitchen door after about 15 minutes of eerie quiet. On the kitchen door, right about where that thing had hit it, was a black mark in the shape of a human hand. And I said, "What the actual did you do?" And I knew I had to take care of the mark on the door before my mom got back from work because we had just painted the door. I grabbed the paint out of the garage and repainted the entire door just to make sure it was covered. My sister and I have never spoken about this since. That incident happened over 30 years ago. And the only person I've ever told was my son about the Wumpf and how we never seen it again. I moved out of that house when I was 19 and have never been back or talked to anyone now living there to see if they'd ever seen anything like that. I have experienced many other paranormal things in my life and have seen many other demons and spirits, but nothing has scared the absolute hell out of me like that Wumpf. End story. End quote.
I did not think it was going to be human ish until the handprint. That threw me for a loop for sure. What a good story.
I don't think it's demon.
I don't think so either. It doesn't feel evil. It feels like wild, like a rabid, but not quite evil.
Yeah, I from what we've read, from what we heard, that's how I feel too.
Like at first, I was thinking, is this like a dog that died there, and it just is like a high energy spirit? But then the handprint is maybe like interdimensional, or just I don't know. When she was saying the 2 feet diameter, I wasn't imagining it being huge.
Why?
So I was thinking like a dog or something.
I mean, I'm thinking. I'll save it. I'll wait. I'll sit on that.
I'll shit on it right there.
So this next story is from Emma, and this takes place in Italy. And I worked on saying this. Pescarossili. I'm a natural, obviously.
I can't. You're Italian.
Yeah, no. And it takes place in. So that's like, I think that's like the city, and then Abruzzo, Italy, which I think is like the state.
Okay.
I'm guessing. So
if you're wrong, we'll find out. So
I'm sure, not if, I'm sure I'm wrong.
That's the way to go into it.
She said, quote, "Since I was a kid, I've always been into nature and camping. So, that's cool." She said when I was 15, about 2 years ago, I was super excited to go on a 3-day camping trip with some friends. We went camping in the Pescarossili to a hotel in the mountains on the first night. I like how she just said it, like we knew that where that is.
Well, when you're so close to something, that's how it's hard to pull yourself back sometimes.
Yeah. That's all right, though. I wish you would have given us like a city, like it's 20 miles from Rome.
Well, you could Google it, right?
I could.
I'm saying we normally do that.
Yeah. All right. I'll look after. So as soon as we got there, we were greeted by a woman who worked there. She told us that she had smelled our arrival, which was already a very strange thing to say.
Or they're just really stinky.
It could be that. Her behavior just seemed weirder and weirder. She kept avoiding any form of eye contact, and her movements were quick and silent. She told us that she'd been sleeping there for a month, but there were no traces that anyone had been living there at all. Every counter and table was covered with a layer of dust. Now, the next morning, we left quickly, and we were extremely weirded out by her. She told us that morning before we left that she, quote, smelt blood nearby. As we walked to the trail, we found fresh stains of blood and the carcass of some kind of boar, I think. There are still pieces of skin on the skull. Freaked out, we went as quickly as possible. The rest of the camping trip was normal, but going back to the city, we switched trails just to not have to pass her again. End quote, end story.
So it was a hotel?
I think
it was like a hostel?
It was like a hostel.
That's unsettling.
Yeah.
And almost, doesn't it feel almost like she's doing it for show? Like she knows that she's being creepy?
I don't think so. I don't think that's a person.
You don't think it's a person?
No. Or it was a long time ago.
You think it's a spirit, or do you think it's not human?
I think it's a spirit.
Okay.
I think it's a spirit. Do you want to talk about what you think? What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Any guess?
We'll talk about the discussion. I'm
I guess
digesting it. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Take some time. Think about that.
It's still passing
Let
through.
everything sink. Oh, it's just I've sat on that for a couple days. Just the idea of this one saying that to you.
It smells like blood. And she was right, though.
She was right.
So if she's a spirit, I don't know. I feel like maybe she did it. And then if she did it, I would assume she's not a spirit. Like the irregularities could be taken as not human, or I could see the spirit aspect of it too, but I don't know.
Do you think she was really living there then?
Maybe.
Well, if there's dust everywhere, I don't know.
She just might not clean.
This is our fifth and final story, and this is from Lisa in Southern Ohio.
Definitely not Lisa, right?
Nope, not Lisa.
Okay, a lot of L names.
It would be strange if it was Lisa.
Is it with a Z?
No, it's with a Y.
Whoa, that's cool.
It's almost like Alyssa, but without the A.
Yeah, I got you. Got no time for the A.
So this takes place in the past. It takes place from 72 to 77. What?
It's not the future.
Well-
She's like, this is going to happen.
That'd be pretty interesting. Actually, if we got a time traveler story, do you know how cool that would be?
Well, the problem would be it would be like 2022, and they're telling the future of 2023, which would still be the past for us.
yeah.
And then we could fact check it.
Yeah.
Now, if it was correct,
But we could timestamp the email though.
well, yeah, I mean, we could say that they sent it at that time. I just mean we'll be able to validate whether or not it actually happened.
That'd be pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah, if we got any people predicting things out there, go
That'd be
for
pretty
it.
sick. All right. So she said, quote, "This story is actually about my dad. I've had a few paranormal encounters myself, but I find his to be wild. I want to hear her stories too." She said, so some backstory on the family first. She said that her dad was the youngest of 6 kids that moved from Texas to Ohio when her father was 5. They got a small farm in southern Ohio. Thankfully, with a family of 8, the labor was not too hard. Now, religion ran in the family, as Lisa's grandfather was a pastor. So is her uncle and father now. But mostly her father and her grandfather worked on the farm.
End of story.
Yeah. Now, when they bought the land, the landlord told them that her grandfather to be aware of something or someone called the painter. They described him as, quote, an older man wearing overalls that looked like it had paint on it, end quote. They were told not to interact with the painter or anything else in the home that seemed unusual. Now, Lisa's grandfather thought that his connection to God would keep the family and home safe. A few years in, and everyone at this point had seen the painter, but thankfully no one had interacted with him. The house was definitely suffering from a strong haunting. Things would happen like beds would shake, people would sleepwalk with no history, terrible nightmares, things would end up moving, but the strangest things happened outside the home. Lisa's dad saw something, and I'll let you decide what you think it sounds like. Her father and some family were playing out in the yard when they saw a dog near the trees. They weren't allowed to go into these woods alone because they would constantly hear people's names being called with no one around. They eventually even ended up using a family call instead of using names because of how often they would hear the names being called. Now, Lisa's father and his cousin saw this dog by the woods. They saw him stand up on his hind legs and walk into the woods. They both saw this. And when the dog was out of the sight, they heard their cousin's name being called from those woods, right where that dog had walked into. And that is the end of the story. It's quick, simple, but it's terrifying.
Where does that take place?
Southern Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are our stories. Those are our listener encounters. Chills for the Halloween season. Let's talk about it in the discussion. Alrighty. Let's go in chronological order. So first story. The hell was the first story? There were 5 stories.
The zoo with the walking stick.
Dean did the zoo.
Yeah, it's not really a zoo, and I understand it's not a zoo. That's just what came to my head.
So I'm gonna go skeptical with this one. Now let me tell you why. I think, they're kids. Even the 17-year-old, even just an older kid, still a kid. And I think they worked each other up. I think they're doing something they shouldn't have been doing. And I think they're having a lot of fun. And with that, you get overexcited. And they didn't realize the park rangers were going to shut the doors.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's their job.
Yeah, I think so too. And they just kind of...
So when you say skeptical, are you saying that they didn't see a shadow figure? And by shadow figure, I don't mean like the way that we reference shadow figure on this podcast. I mean like a figure in shadows. Do you think they saw a real man, or do you think that their eyes played tricks on them?
I think it could have been either one.
What do you think?
I think that they maybe just saw a guy in the woods. I think maybe it's just a homeless guy or a guy camping where he shouldn't be. Here's the thing. I think that it could have been like a spirit or something. But I think this is just a lot of normal occurrences happening and they got overhyped.
Yeah, I agree. I go skeptical. I think the fact that they were freaked out by the owl hooting, again, you got to put yourself in the mindset
position, right?
of being a teenager, somewhere you're not supposed to be, amped up, probably some energy drinks.
Probably.
At least one Red Bull was drank, and then you see something, whether it is a real person or just her eyes are playing tricks on him, and one person says, "Look at the man."
Yeah.
And then way after the fact that they are here.
Yeah. Oh, that almost feels like you had this experience and then she just added on top of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe it was a man, and maybe those really were his walking sticks, but
Do you think it was a shadow?
I don't think it's paranormal. Let me put it that way. That's why I'm going skeptical.
Yeah.
I think I vote higher. I would rate it higher that they actually saw a real person. But in terms of it being a paranormal experience, I go skeptical.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It just doesn't seem like that to me. All right. So let's move on to the next one. So she's in her bed and she sees this entity appear there, sitting there, poised. Poised is how she said.
A woman with wrinkles that spiderwebbed into something.
And white eyes.
What?
Black hair. Oily, wet hair. Old,
I guess
clothes.
If it terrifies you and she gets within 1 inch of your face, you're going to remember every detail.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she calls on Kalima, and Kalima protected her.
What was her... She was something like the trim. Like, what was her, like, sensation after calling on Kalima?
Safe. She was safe.
No, but she, like, described it.
Yeah, she said she, like, closed her eyes, and she felt herself, like, not transported, but she felt like it was like an open, safe room with like orange curtains with trim in them.
So detailed.
Yes. And that also reminds me of like a traditional kind of like Indian home settings. Somewhere safe. And then it was gone. And then she felt safe again, which I couldn't imagine going back to sleep after. Like you said, I couldn't imagine trying.
But the safety that she might have felt might have been so euphoric in a way, or not, maybe not euphoric, but like overwhelming. Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like just a complete sense of security that she was able to drift to sleep.
Yeah.
Because why else would she be worried? Like she was like, I'm good. We're good here.
And I almost feel weird casting. So if it is like if we do think maybe it was a sleep paralysis episode, do you think it's less believable then?
In what way?
Like, do you think it's a spirit or not? If it's sleep paralysis?
If it's sleep paralysis, no.
Completely?
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think there's room there for spirits in sleep. That's how you feel about sleep paralysis, though.
That is how I feel about sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
I think there's a gray area, but I think it is one or the other. Now, I like because then it's like, does the old hag just happen to wait until you experience sleep paralysis and then comes in and is like,
or does it cause it?
But I also believe in the scientific factors of sleep paralysis.
So one of the factors in this is we don't know the build to the story. We don't know what happened before that might have alerted this entity of her.
Well, yeah, it seems like she has a lot of other experiences with paranormal or strange things based on the way she was describing. Because she was like, this isn't like the other ones. And we're like, yo, what are the other ones? Wait, hold on. So this isn't a one-off.
Right.
And she says that she's familiar with sleep paralysis. It's just the way that she described it. She's like, it wasn't sleep paralysis because I was aware. And that's not
quite right, though.
No,
she had said like I moved.
Yeah. Because I think there's a large portion of sleep paralysis where it's your mind playing tricks on you. So if your mind can put the most terrifying old woman in front of you, it can also then create the ultimate form of security and safety. Like her brain could have done both of those those for her.
Yeah.
Or she saw a demon.
And then she had a spiritual battle in front of her.
Yep. Those are the two options. I mean, which would you prefer? I mean, I prefer it to be my own brain, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
Personally, I guess. I don't know. Demons dude, you don't mess with demons.
It's a scary thought.
Very scary. Or is there any chance it could just have been like very scary ghost? I mean, she said she felt like it wanted her soul. So if we're trusting her as a narrator, probably not.
I agree with that. Yeah, she said it felt like the intention of not wanting to kill her, but take her soul.
I'll give it a viable.
Yeah.
Even though I do think that the way she discounts it being sleep paralysis doesn't add up to me.
Yeah.
But she's like, clearly she has other paranormal stuff going on that she's comparing it to.
She's sensitive.
And she said that she has had sleep paralysis. So I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and I'll go viable on that.
I'm going to go believable. I believe her. She's sensitive. This is the thing, not this specific thing, but she's encountered things. And maybe I'm just maybe being a little extra. I don't know. The religious element.
Naive? Is that what
maybe. The religious element there was really strong for me. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go believable. Stand on it.
Italy?
No.
No, what is the next
The
one?
Wumpf, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the story about the Wumpf.
The
The
Wumpf.
kids got chased in the house.
The fact that they named it this. Okay, let me preface this by saying I don't think this is made up. I do not think this is a made up story.
I agree with that.
The way that this story is presented, the way that they've named the entity, feels like it's something I would have read in one of those scary stories they tell in the dark books.
Yeah.
Like I can almost see the picture that they would draw for it, and it would be called the Wumpf.
Oh.
Like it feels so much like that, and not to take away from the reality of it, because I do think it is real. I'm not questioning that, but that's the way when it was done, I felt that's a great story.
Mm-hmm. But to your point earlier, I don't think this was a demon. I don't think it had the intention of a demon.
It felt rabid. It felt wild.
Yeah. Like an old man, get off my yard. Or like, but to me, I think it sounded a lot like an elemental.
You know, I could see. I can see why you want to sit on that.
Yeah.
The big reveal.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know what else for me, because does it feel evil? And now we could be wrong. It could be evil and we're just totally missing that.
I mean, we weren't there. We didn't feel it, you know?
Yeah. It doesn't feel evil. It doesn't feel intentional.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like interdimensional is something I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Like remember when we were talking about like the yellow racer and things like that?
Oh, yeah.
Like just, it feels like chaotic.
Yeah.
It feels chaotic. But the handprint.
That's crazy that it left a handprint on the door.
Like that really throws me because it feels so animalistic to me.
Yeah.
Like the way it's charging against the door. Like this thing's not sneaky.
No.
This could not play Metal Gear Solid. You know what I mean? Like it is just running around, banging and things, chasing. The fact that it didn't catch her, kind of wild.
It's almost like a human that's lost its humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the what do they call them? Like the
Feral humans?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a whole nother animal.
I almost said rabid people, and that's not. Sounds like rabbit people.
Rabbit people.
I go believable. I just because I think I'm biased because I love this story. I can't pinpoint what it is, but that also means I can't say it's not true because I can't say, well, obviously it's not this because
I really do. I think it's an elemental in the forest because I'm picturing this really rural house in northern Minnesota. There's not a lot of stuff going on. There's a stream, there's fish, there's a big woods, there's a lot of hills.
And one big ass black 2-foot diameter elemental.
And that lives in the woods.
Yeah.
Or is like an entity of the woods. And maybe the girls were doing something they shouldn't have been doing though. And maybe they didn't tell.
I think you should ask them after 30 years, asterisk it, the elemental Wumpf.
I do think it's an elemental. I go believable as well.
Now it's Italy.
This story is pretty wild. They go on a camping trip and they stay in this place. This woman.
Yeah. Give it a little.
That's about it.
She
says
she's strange.
She's so creepy. She's so weird. She said, I smelled you coming. And then before they leave, she goes, I smelled blood.
Maybe she's a vampire. She's an Italian vampire.
Shit. Actually, I don't know. Are you kidding?
Well, I don't particularly believe in vampires.
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, it's like if you watch this and you didn't know that, like if you went into a movie blind and you saw this, I would feel like there's vampire tendencies here.
Yeah, it's moving silently and
fast, can smell things, dirty area, doesn't really live there. Just, perfect coffin, perfect Transylvania conditions.
It's just crazy to me that
in Italy,
everything's layered in dust.
Yeah.
Like it's not really touching things.
So I get where you're coming from with it being a spirit because of that.
Yeah. Ugh. I mean, it just lives in the basement.
Could just be
just
an off-putting woman.
No, I don't buy that.
It's possible though.
I guess.
No, you don't have to believe that. I'm just saying it's possible.
It's definitely possible. I'll give it a possibility.
There's just like one nice room in there, that she lives in.
Pristine room.
Yeah. Or it's just, you've been to places that are dirty. I've been to places that are dirty. I've stopped at restaurants in no off-beaten paths where you're like, ugh, but you're like, I'm so hungry.
Maybe she knew about the boar's body that they would run across.
I mean, maybe she gets kicks out of freaking out. Like the gas station guy from Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just,
I believe it as a story.
So off.
Obviously I go believable. I guess, well, there's probably a caveat whether or not I believe it as it being paranormal.
Yes. Do you think it's paranormal? That's harder.
Yeah, it is hard. I'll go viable. I don't really buy myself that it's just an off-putting woman. I'm just saying it easily could be. You know, like there's strange people out there. You guys, everyone listening to this knows a strange person.
Yeah, I mean, before we started, I was dead set that this is a ghost. And
Now you're thinking vampire.
I'm thinking vampire.
Mercy
For real.
Brown.
Like, I can just imagine these wide, scary eyes. Man.
They slept there though, and they were fine. Had little pricks on them. They're like,
Yeah,
I got
right?
bit by 2 bed bugs on my neck.
That's terrible.
Both cases are terrible. There.
Yeah. I guess I'm going to go buy blood is marinara sauce.
And they're just big pizza dippers. She's bathing them in garlic. Now you think vampire camp, but it's for the marinara.
That's right. You got to do it. They have immunities there. So this next story, the last story about the family home in Southern Ohio that is haunted as shit.
Now, when it was bought,
Yeah.
and he says, watch out for the painter.
Yeah.
Do you think it was immediately understood and established, I'm talking about a paranormal entity, or do you think there's any chance that the family took it as like, hey, there's this crazy guy who wears overalls, just kind of avoid him.
Let him hang out in your house?
Not in your house.
Yeah.
You might see him on your property. Just, he's not good news, just avoid him.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any chance they took it that way? Or do you think they were explicit?
I think it was pretty explicit.
You're buying a haunted ass property. You know what is the scariest thing of this particular story?
What's that?
Is being haunted all night, sleepwalking, and then having to do 10 hours of farm work.
Yes.
Like,
you wake up, you're like, oh no.
The least that you can't call off that shit. Least you can do is possess my body, and you do the work. You do the 10-hour shift.
And then you come back, and then the painter's in the kitchen. You can't cook dinner because he won't go away.
Oh my God. So you just got to order out. But, DoorDash takes 50 minutes.
Because you're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
And then they cancel your order.
This is a special kind of hell.
Oh yeah. Painter's the least of their problems. And we didn't even hear about the painter. We heard about the dog coyote man.
Yeah.
Coyote man, as you were told.
Listen.
This is Ohio.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. So what do you think the dog was?
I mean, it gives Skinwalker vibes, but it's Ohio. And I know I like my story, but
yeah,
it is Ohio. It is.
That's what she said.
There's going to be,
she thought it was.
There's going to be like,
I think it could just be high strangeness.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know. Like alien stuff.
Alien?
I don't know. Yeah. An alien disguised as a dog and walks into the woods. But no, not really. I think it's a spirit. I think it's spiritual. I mean, there is a lot of Native American stuff going on in Southern Ohio, I think, right?
I can't speak to that intelligently.
I guess that's fair. That's why the impression I always got from Southern Ohio.
Let me put it this way. Ohio, and putting my own biases and my own experiences aside, Ohio is not somewhere like,
it's not for the
there's
faint
probably
heart.
people. No, I'm saying there's probably people of Navajo culture hearing us say, yeah, it's a Skinwalker in Ohio. And they're like, these idiots. You can't just claim Skinwalker in every state and every story.
I don't think it's a Skinwalker.
What do you think then?
I do not know. I think it's more like along the lines of like Appalachian kind of entity.
Crazy Appalachia stuff?
Yes.
Not deer? Not dog?
Something like that. Some kind of thing. That
the
wants
voices,
to disarm.
though.
Yes.
That's something.
That's definitely something. The fact that they had to come up with their own like call sign instead of like the actual names.
Little. It's dinner time. Corn again.
That's wild.
Hell
though,
yeah.
Right? Like, could you imagine? And you're just like,
see, we've talked about this recently, and I don't know what context it was.
I remember talking about.
But that's like when something is so ingrained in your life that you find ways to live around it rather than change. Like that's when you know, like, there's that believability in it. Like my alarm clock in my car clock is off 2 minutes, so I'm just going to train my body to learn that and know that rather than just take the time to change it. It's like I am now adapting my lifestyle to these elements, these paranormal elements around me, because I guess they can't sell it. Yeah. I guess at least they told them. That would suck. You're closing in on a farm and they're like, hey, by the way, did you sign already? All right, yeah. So
super.
I would feel really bad. Like, this would live on my conscience if I didn't tell you this place is haunted as
Ren's doing the 10th, though.
I made a list of the most important enemies. These are the special infected. These guys you probably won't see that often.
Can you imagine living through a bed shake? Like, thankfully, my bed's never shaken. Never.
No.
The moment that happened, that'd be terrifying. I don't know what I would do. I'd quit the show.
I was joking, but to get no sleep and then have to work on the farm, would be miserable. Miserable.
Where would you put this?
Unbelievable. I think there's a lot of weird things going on here.
Yeah, the whole family's haunted.
Whole family. At least there's a lot of them. They take shifts.
It's like Ohio Skinwalker Ranch, really.
They wake up. Who's the least haunted last night? Are you working today? People just start lying.
Oh,
my whole bed shaked last night. I was levitating. They just start one up each other.
I was possessed.
Even the ghosts are like, "Did you do that?" I didn't do that. Painter's like, "I don't know." Painter was actually the least scary part of this story, even though it was the hype.
I don't agree with
that dog. If me and someone else both saw a dog stand on his back feet and walk into the woods, and I'm hearing voices and names called.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't shoot it.
I'm going off to college, Pa. Where? Anywhere but here. See ya.
Yeah. The Ohio State University.
Go to Cincinnati with Travis Kelce and then denounce it. And then every time you get announced, you just say Cleveland Heights, which I'm cool with. I'm cool with that. Let me just say.
That was our listener collection, volume 8. Can't believe it's been 8 volumes.
8. I need to do one.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I'm gonna do one,
and I'll do a alien
extraterrestrial encounter.
Yeah, I was gonna say alien jambalaya or whatever you call it.
And so I'm gonna do that. You're gonna do that. And what you guys are gonna do is mark your calendar for this Saturday. It's probably too late to mark your calendar. You probably already have plans, or you don't. But if we are your plans, or you don't have plans, this Saturday, October 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern, we are doing our Halloween live stream. It's completely free. You just have to make a free account on Twitch and follow us, Believe in the Bizarre. It's going to be fun. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be trivia. There's going to be creepy stories. It is a main episode. So when I say creepy stories, it's not, it's not like we're pulling random stories. It is a full topic. But it'll be creepy. And it'll be live and fun, and Charlie will be there.
Yeah, and if you're on our Patreon, we're going to do our Google Hangout there at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time.
Friday. And that means you'll get kind of insight into where we are and what we might be talking about.
You'll probably figure it out. So we tell you guys everything every time.
That's for our dedicated tier or our not tier, and it's literally just hanging out with us for an hour talking about whatever. So that is this Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun, but yes, mark your calendars, Saturday, October 26th, 9 p.m. Eastern, live Halloween special on Twitch. And if you want to be able to do Google Meet and you want to be able to get a bunch of bonus content, you can follow us and join our Patreon. So much bonus content, quizzes, movies, behind the scenes stuff. We watch horror films with you, review them, do quizzes on our own content. It's a lot of fun. We put out a lot of content every Wednesday. Every Friday, we are dropping something over there on Patreon.
That's right. And if you're enjoying the show right now and you want to leave a comment, you can go to Apple. You can leave a 5 stars and a review. That would mean a whole lot to us. But if you're on Spotify, you can go on the episode and you can leave a comment. And a couple of people that love to comment.
But before you read the comments, Can I comment? Can I comment on a comment?
Absolutely.
Now, we have the absolute discretion to either publish or not publish the Spotify comments. Like, they have to be approved. If somebody, I think, is talking absolutely out of pocket, I just don't publish it,
Yeah.
Now, that being said, if somebody has healthy criticism or politely is not even the way I want to put it. If they're just stating their thoughts without it coming across as unnecessarily mean or rude, I will publish it. And for that reason, I do want to say thank you to everybody who, I don't want to be like, came to our defense, because that makes it seem like we're victims and we're not.
No.
But people that just had kind words for us based on that one, I think they're validated in their comment. If you have to go back to our last episode and look at Spotify if you want to know what I'm talking about. But for everybody who said kind words in response to that comment, we see you and we do appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. But that being said, Jess said, I absolutely cackled at the part where you talked about the dead bodies in the kitchen and using the fingers to dip, which I did as well. I enjoyed that a lot. Ashley said, I have 4 kids. I'll definitely be there. I think they're referring to the
live Halloween
special because I have no party plans.
I think Sherry told us she was coming.
I think she did too, which is awesome. I can't wait to see her there. Marissa said, I love this episode. I worked at an assisted living home for a few months back, and it was definitely haunted. I never experienced seeing anything or hearing anything, but the vibes were just off.
I believe it.
And Wolfco said the one episode I would recommend a new listener, which was my favorite, would be the Skinwalker episode.
Ooh, 45, I think.
So
did we ask people to comment?
we did. We said, what would you recommend people listen to?
Very cool. I believe it's episode 45. Y'all can fact check me on that. Every now and then, an episode number sticks in my head.
Yeah. Someone made a comment on something, and I had no idea what they were referring to.
What'd they say?
It might be on this. Let me look really quick. Not that we've done plenty to do on stalling.
No, we only have one thing to do before Ben gets here. So
I guess that's true. I might have been on the haunted roads.
Haunted roads. Take me. Oh,
okay.
God damn it.
They said, that's my cologne. That's my cologne. Me. Guys, no. Do you have any idea what that's referring to?
We were joking about cologne.
Yeah. What did we say, though?
We said a really bad scent, and one of us was like, yeah, that's my cologne.
Okay.
And we said,
I figured that's what the context was. I just do not remember it.
Yes.
Anyway, it shows how well we listen to our own episodes.
The Yankees took the lead. Damn it.
Son of a bitch.
How'd that happen?
They've got a lot of money.
They do.
And ergo, they win. So this is a little off topic. The episode's done. Thank you for stopping in. We appreciate you. Tyler, you got your 5K coming up.
Yes, the same
day as my wife's 5K. Because it's the same one.
I was going to say the same day as the live Halloween special. That's not true.
That's not true.
Because the way we're talking about it is like it's Tuesday. So it would have been last Saturday.
Yeah. So this is coming up. Are you excited?
I am. I went running today, actually.
Oh, how'd you do?
Fine. I did fine. My goal is to run the 5K, and this isn't impressive, y'all.
I think it is. To me, it is.
I'm trying to get it under 32 minutes. And I know there's people that are like, I run 8-minute miles. And that's very cool. I don't. That's very cool.
5K is about 3 miles, right?
3.13. It's like pi. It's like dumb shit.
Okay.
It's like 3.1 something.
Yeah.
Just when you hit 3, you feel like you're done, but you have a little bit more to go.
That's really exciting.
I am doing the Mothman. I'll run the Mothman one too later this month.
I think you should just do it at the same time.
No, they sent me the stuff already. I have the shirt. And I got the medal.
How's the shirt look?
Dope. It's dope. I'll wear it sometime. Somebody said on Patreon that I announce when I do it, so we can all do it if other people want to do it.
Well, that's a good idea.
So let me say this. Maybe I'll include it in the show notes in case I forget. Or unless I forget is what I mean. It's called Outrun the Mothman. It's like a virtual 5K.
Yeah.
So you order it. It's like, I think it's like $25. They send you a shirt, medal, a number thing that you can wear, and it goes to a good cause. It's like all the money goes towards, it was, they comment on, hold on.
Children killed by Mothman.
No.
Children's family killed by Mothman.
No. It's like sick children with siblings who something. Hold on. I'll find it. I bought it before I even knew how good it was.
Well, that's good though. It goes to a good cause.
Well, it caught me. It says, and the Mothman 5K helps pay for sick kids go to summer camp with their sibling.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really nice.
So, well, it is probably going to have to be this week. So it's probably isn't going to be helpful because it has to be done before November 1st.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to do it before our live Halloween special.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's happening.
Yes.
So I'm excited. Your wife is doing it too.
Yeah, she's doing the 5K.
Not the Mothman. She's doing the pumpkin run.
Yeah.
Even though neither one of us are carrying pumpkins.
She said she's mostly doing it for apple cider.
You get it free.
Yeah, that's what she's doing it for.
I mean, it's expensive to just do it for the apple cider.
That's her joke. I'm going to go get signs with her friend's husband. We're going to make signs.
Awesome.
I'll make a 2-sided sign.
You don't have to.
I'm going to make a Tyler sign and then Stephanie sign.
Okay. Last time I did it last year, I was excited to see my wife and my son at the finish line, but he had to go poop. And so they left. And
they'll probably hold it this time.
Well, it depends. It depends. But hey, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre.
The podcast is bizarre as you are.